All right, so a DJ wants to play 3 songs from a list of 5 without repeating any of them. How many ways can he play 3 songs from a list? So this is permutations. So he wants to play 3 songs, so I like to draw a little visual. Here are my 3 songs from a list of 5. So for the first song, he has 5 possible songs he can choose. Once he has played that first song, for the second song, he only has 4 possible songs left. And then once he has played the first 2 songs, he only has 3 possible songs left. So we multiply those numbers together, 5 times 4 times 3, which would give us the total number of outcomes, which would be 60. So how many ways can he play 3 songs from the list? There are 60 ways. All right, you're organizing your books on your bookshelf. How many different ways can you organize them? So again, this is permutation. There are 6 total books, and you can organize them a bunch of different ways. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's say these are the spots. When I go ahead and set my first book, I have 6 options to choose from. Once I have set my first book on the shelf, for the second book, I only have 5 books to choose from, and so forth. Then I only have 4 books, then 3, then 2, then 1. So I would multiply 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Go ahead and multiply that in your calculator, and that would give you 720 ways. All right, number 25. Write 3 ways to represent the complement of rolling a 5 on dice or on a die. So remember that when you're talking about complement, that's kind of like the opposite. So basically, we don't want to roll a 5. So how can we write not rolling a 5? Well, one way is you could say, what is the probability of not a 5, right? Another way you could say, you could list out the numbers that are not a 5 on a dice. So what's the probability of rolling a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 6? And then you can actually find like the probability of not rolling a 5 and write that out. So let's say if I said, what is the probability of not 5? Okay, how many numbers are not a 5 on a dice? That's 5 out of 6 total numbers. So I could write it as 5/6, and that would be the complement as well. So that would be the complement of probability of 5. I could also write that as a decimal or as a percent. Those are all complements. Okay, so this last question says, which of these pairs are complements of each other? Spinning the spinner below. So you have 2 statements for each letter. So for A, we have a statement here and then a statement here, same thing here and here. You got 2 statements. You are selecting which ones are complements of each other. So which ones are opposites of each other. So let's take a look at our first example. They said the probability of T or S. So we need to make sure that 3/4 is its opposite or its complement. Well, the complement of rolling the probability of a T or S would be a not T or S, right? So let's find that and see if it equals 3/4. So the probability of not a T or S would be getting an N, an E, an N, an E, an R, an O. Okay, so there are 6 things, 6 favorable outcomes out of 8 possible outcomes, which does simplify to 3/4. So yes, these are complements of each other. The probability of a T or S, its complement would be 3/4. Okay, so the next one says the probability of spinning a vowel, and then they say its complement is P, the probability of N. Well, if I'm looking at the spinner and I wanted to do the probability of the complement of the probability of spinning a vowel, that would include N, but it also includes S and T. So this is not true because you would also need to include the S and T and the R, I'm sorry. So you need to include all of those letters. So B is not correct. Those are not complements of each other. Okay, the next one says 12.5% and 1/8. Are those complements? Well, 12.5% and 1/8 are not opposites of each other. Those are the same thing. 1/8 is 12.5%. So these are not complements of each other. All right, the next one says the probability of E is 75%. Are those complements? So I'm going to find the probability of not E and see if I get 75%. So that would be NSROTN. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 8, okay, which simplifies to 3/4, which is 75%. So since I found P of not E, the probability of not E, and I got 3/4, these are opposites of each other. So D is correct. Those are complements. Now E, it says 1/2 and the probability of spinning an E or an N. So again, I like to look at the words and do the opposite of that. So it says the probability of spinning an E or an N. So let's say a not E or N and see if we get 1/2. So that would be TORS, yep, which is 4 out of 8 total, which is 1/2. So since we did not and we got 1/2, then yes, these are complements of each other. So the correct answers would be A, D, and E. All right, hope this helped. If you have any questions, let us know, and good luck on your test.